Hello all, this is Dr. Dave Maslach talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3, and in this particular video I want to talk to you about whether you should be nervous about starting your doctorate or your PhD. So if you don't know me, I'm an associate professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship, and I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There were so many people that helped me out that I wanted to pay the favor forward and help you out as much as I possibly can. So I created this sharing economy editing platform, also doing all these YouTube videos, and I got a rather big blog now that we've been working on. So there's a couple of writers that I've hired to do this. So it's awesome. All right, so should you be nervous about starting your PhD? It's absolutely normal if you're nervous when you're starting your PhD. I really was nervous when I started mine. I felt very, in some ways I felt very proud and I felt very confident in what I was doing, but at the same time, it was going into a new area and going and doing something that's completely different than I've never done before, right? So as an engineer, in my that was my undergraduate degree and my master's degree, but then I went into a strategy program in a business school, which was kind of really different. And, some of the stuff there was overlap, but not some of the stuff wasn't. So I was really nervous about that. It was going to a different institution. I had to move cities. All sorts of stuff that were there. Some of you are going to be moving, countries. Some of you are, that you're maybe having to break up with people and go to another place because the relationship is not going to work out. So luckily, I got married that summer. This was 2005. I got married, and my wife and I, we've, tackled everything together at this moment. So there was a summer, July, when I got married, and then after that, in the latter half of August, that's when I started the doctorate program. So a lot of stuff went on that summer. So anyways, it's absolutely normal to be nervous about it. And so if you're feeling like this, I just thought I'd give you a couple of questions or answer a couple of questions, common questions that you might be thinking about when you feel nervous at this moment. So don't feel bad about feeling nervous. It's a perfectly normal reaction. That's what I'm saying. So just embrace it. Embrace it anytime you do anything that's new. It's going to feel like that. So just kind of go with the flow. All right. So how stressful is a PhD? So when you start off with your doctorate program, you're not necessarily going to feel that stress. But as you develop and grow as a scholar, you're going to start feeling more and more pressure and more stress. This is the way that I felt, and I think a lot of people go through this, right? So at this moment, I've supervised a couple of people, interact with hundreds of different people that have gone through different experiences that were all very similar, right? When you start off, you feel pretty good in the first couple of years. In the first year, second year, you start feeling the pressure. And then by third or your fourth year, you start really feeling the pressure, and you just feel like you're never quite good enough and you're not quite doing enough stuff, right? So that level of stress can be managed, and you can do well with that. And it takes a purposeful sort of management of that stress. I'm not I'm not trying to sugarcoat this in any sort of way. You're going to experience this. Almost everybody does. If you haven't experienced this at this moment, you're probably unusual, right? So you're managing this really, really well. So what you have to do is, channel your stress and anxieties in different ways, right? So can you handle a PhD? Absolutely. I think everybody can do one. I don't think that there is like a threshold of intelligence. I don't think that there is a threshold of, maturity. All that stuff kind of works, right? And that is an important sort of way to think. It's important in order to get through a doctorate program, but doesn't necessarily mean that it has, it's everybody's different is what I'm trying to get at. And everybody can handle it. And you're not, if you think that you're not that bright, I was in special ed until I was in grade 5. So that's back in the day when they actually called it special ed. And, I struggled with it, found out later on in life, just, a matter of a couple of years ago that I had ADHD. I was struggling with it. I still struggle with it. It's still difficult. But, I learned how to manage it throughout my life, and you'll learn how to manage this kind of stuff as well, right? So what I would do if I were you in terms of handling your doctorate or thinking about that in terms of being scared of doing that, I would really you have to really embrace the mundane and be okay with that, right? So you probably have already done some projects that were similar in terms of doing something that takes a long time. It's really mundane, but you have to be okay with that and just be okay with that feeling. But the other thing that you have to do, and I'm a firm believer in this, and however you do it in whatever schedule you have to do a lot of self-care. So there's going to be lots of things going on in the world around you that is going to get you really nervous and anxious. But what you have to do is really work on yourself and do a lot of things that seem willy-nilly or whatnot. I think that those, it's really important, right? Like do things like exercising, super important. Actually cutting your hair. Doing things like all that kind of stuff, like actual real self-maintenance. And then emotionally, working on things like working on your relationships, going out for movies, things like that are going to be really beneficial for you. It's going to help you get through. Anytime that I start feeling weird and anxious, it usually means that something is out of line with that, and I have to pull back, and that's a really important thing for me personally. Now, can you actually get through your PhD? Absolutely. I don't think that there is anybody that can't do that, right? So what you have to do, again, is do a lot of self-care and imagine yourself is kind of a whole person rather than just imagining yourself in terms of the research. And that's going to happen to you. You're going to feel really pressured to go in a particular direction in terms of research. It's a guarantee it's going to happen to you. And so what you have to do is come back and keep practicing, right? So if you're a religious person, go and do your religious, ceremony and rituals and stuff like that on a regular basis, right? So I do go to services once in a while, right? I'm a little religious, not like, overly religious. But anyways, you have to practice those kind of things. That's going to really help you out. Going and doing this, I guarantee it. So how much do PhD students actually earn? 2 words, not much. You're not going to make that much money doing this. You're not going to get wealthy. In fact, I would encourage you to actually go and seek out industry positions first before you actually do your doctorate. It is going to be a journey, and you can watch a bunch of my videos on why and what's that all about. So I encourage you definitely go and seek other alternatives at this moment. And then once you've sought those alternatives, this is still attractive to you, then you can go and think about doing a doctorate, right? So, how are you actually going to pass your PhD? So the way that I would look at it, it's the same way that, I've been talking about, is just really practice one step at a time, and whatever that looks like for you, right? So some people might be able to work 7 days a week and get a bunch of stuff done, while you might have to only work 2 days a week. Well, that 2 days a week is going to be sufficient as long as you're moving forward and taking those steps forward. So just focus on those things, focus on the little things, and just accept that a lot of stuff's going to happen in your life over the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And just know it's going to be all around you, and you just have to, develop yourself as a person. All right, so if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.